Alrighty then, I'm here with Han. How are you, Han?
I'm good. How about you?
Doing good. I'm excited about this topic. I think that's something that hit pretty close to home. I had quite a bit of frustration for a couple of weeks this wipe. You're basically the person that helped me through that frustration and to deal with the game better. So when you suggested that we talk about psychology in Tarkov, I thought that was very relevant and very useful.
Yes.
I think most people should listen to what you have to say. It would definitely help a lot of people because I think most people have a hard time dealing with the frustration of the game, the deaths, the pain of all of it. So let's talk about it. So for the people watching this, what did you tell me that helped me so much?
Generally, I was saying like you die regardless. Like even the best players die, and they die regardless. If you can look on their PMC KDs and such, like you can see that they died a lot. They had a lot of bad days and good days and such. Like right now, they might be in the good days, but they also have bad days like us. Also, that's their job, and the YouTube and the Twitch or whatever that you watch them, you see the good part of them. But also there's another part where people play bad and they might not streaming, or they might be not recording, or even they're recording, they're not just showing us. So we see only the good part, like the social media. We see only the good part. We don't see the negative part. So every one of them, every one of the good players, in my opinion, they had bad days back in the day, but they just learned the way to cope with it. If you can cope with it, you'll survive it. That's the main part of getting better in general. Like everyone has different coping mechanisms though. Like some people take breaks. I generally take breaks. If I die more than 3 times in one go, yeah, okay, there's no way I'm going like 4th raid because I know I'm not gonna die there regardless. So. And also there's another factor. Like sometimes you just fail. It happens. Even on the show, The Office, it says sometimes you just fail. There's nothing to learn. It happens. Something you just fail.
I don't get what I did wrong.
Not everything's a lesson, Ryan. Sometimes you just fail.
Do not overthink about it and then just keep moving and fake it until you make it. Kind of works in this game quite a lot. Like you fake you're a Chad. You fake until like you wear Chad gear, you wear the big armors, big backpacks, Chad outfits, Chad helmets, face shields, name it, alright? You do it. And then sometimes it just clicks and then you just wipe a lobby or kill some people in a very stylish way or something. You just basically accomplish it at some point, but it comes with experience and everyone's experience is completely different than each other. You can't really compare to yourself with a streamer that has 10,000 hours and you might be an ex-pro or CS or Valorant, or okay, you could be a very good aim player, sure, but the game doesn't only have an aim skill included. You have to have movement skills, you have to have aim skills, you have to have map knowledge, you have to understand how health system works, how armor works, how gun works. There's a lot of mechanics like combined to each other. A good player will basically use all the information consistently because consistency makes the player good. You can go to the gym like every day for consistently, but also there's a lot of dudes that basically doing it like maybe twice a week, but not consistently. But the consistent boys will see the progression. In the meantime, the guys who's not doing it a lot of time, they don't see it. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Also, like it's the mindset as well. Like if you think it's intense, it's intense. If you think it's chill, it's chill. So it depends on like what you expect and what you want to do in general. If you want to take fights, you take fight. If you want to take it very intensely, very close quarter and very risky, you can make it that way. But also you can make it very chill way as well. It also come to like a mindset of like how you want to do it. You can survive in many ways. You can extract camp, you can rat, you can chad, you can push, you can basically chad rat, There's a lot of ways to survive into a raid. It doesn't matter, like there's no a correct way to play the game. You can play the game no matter how like you find it funny.
I think my default style is to be cautious and not push all the fights and just basically take the fights that I have to and then do my quest and get out. I don't tend to be super aggressive normally. Like I'll be aggressive if I have to, I have to take those fights and there's PMCs pushing me or whatever, I'll try to kill them, right? But if I'm on a quest and I hear shots over there, I'm not going to be blindly running in that direction to take those fights. I'm just going to be probably going the other way, or maybe going around those fights. I'm thinking more about survival in my case. That's my kind of default behavior. I know some people are way more aggressive and they'll just take all the fights. They'll die more, but then they'll get better at PvP faster than I do. So it depends on your personality a lot, I think, also.
I agree on that. And also, it depends on what you want to achieve as well. Like, I did wanted to achieve in my first wipe, I just wanted to understand what the game is. I basically being very ignorant, and I basically didn't want to open Google and check the map because I didn't want to break the immersion of the game. Basically, I didn't know this good community for this game exists, so I played the game alone for entire wipe as a standard account also, because I did want to understand what the game is about and whether or not I like it. You know, that's the thing.
That's rough.
So then
that's a rough way to learn the game.
Oh yeah, of course. Like I remember my first days. No joke. Like, but back in the day, flea market was level 5. Back in the day, flea market didn't even exist. That's another thing, but still. But flea market was level 5. You know, think about that way. It was very harsh. I drew a map by myself to understand how can I do better. Like, I basically created a map by just going for the borders and such. And most people tend to kind of not die, which is not a good idea in my opinion. In my opinion, people should die in their first wipe quite a lot to understand how the game mechanic works, how the map works, how the players go, where the players spawn. Like, people they think that instinctively they want to just survive. And basically, I remember my first times that I was trying to teach you about it as well. Like, you need to die. That's the thing. You have to die to understand how players will push you. Otherwise, you can't understand it. You can't drive a car without driving a car. That's basically the same thing. You can read all the books about driving the car, but as long as you don't drive it, you will never understand it, because it's about feeling. It's about how you feel, it's about how you control yourself in general, and how consistent you're going to use your knowledge about whatever you are drawing. Especially in short maps, CQB maps like Shoreline in the resort. It's very close quarter. People tend to camp it, and you have to react to a lot of stuff at the same time, and you have to use all the map knowledge, combine it at the same time. And it's very stressful because you're pretty much like in a tight hallways in general. So like adrenaline rush kind of kicks in at that point. But that's what I'm saying in general.
How do you deal with the adrenaline that pops up? I mean, even now, after 2100 or 2200 hours in a game at this point, I still get my heart pumping. As soon as I get into a fight where I know that a fight is coming, it's inevitable. Like, my heart starts pumping faster, you know, like the heartbeat goes up. Once the stress levels go up, I can sort of control my behavior to some degree. I can, you know, keep it together, if you will, but I definitely feel the intensity of the fight or the situation, right?
It's understandable. It's understandable thing. It takes a lot of time, and it's also depends on personality. And it's kind of weird, but it kind of depends on how you actually grew up as well. I grew up in some country not a very stable, so surprising me is kind of a bit hard in general, and like how I grew up and such. So because of that, I don't really get surprised whenever something happens. I mean, sure, I get like a weird, you know, thing, like, you know, something should like immediately, you know, survival instinct kicks in. Like, you want to survive it. Yes, sure, like it happens because the game is designed that way. By the way, the sound design is entirely up to that. Like, when you get shot, you will fear from whatever is coming regardless, because survival instinct, it's instinctive thing. What you need to do is basically when you get shot or something, or when you hear somebody coming and you think that your heart's pumping, right? Like, you're pounding, your adrenaline is coming. You need to find yourself to calm your nerves down. And a lot of people that I play with, they're my group mates, they kind of warn me about it, but they also kind of understand it. But I take very deep breaths and like kind of exhale a lot, give a lot of time to myself to control every nerve that I have, like my arms, my breathing, my eyes. Like, you know, you're just trying to focus on whatever is happening. And one of the problems that you had, I remember, you were fighting in CQB and you were thinking about what will happen next. That's the main concern of most players. They want to survive and they overthink, and because of that, they die regardless. Usually, what you need to do in general, when adrenaline kicks in, you have to survive the current situation. That's it. Like, you can't think about a next situation until you survive the current situation. Like, the train is coming, all right? And if you don't start your car, you will die regardless. So you have to just basically, first of all, move your car. You know, that's the most basic way to make you understand it. Some positions will maybe require you to fight with 2 or 3 teams at the same time. You might need to confuse them, which is one of advanced strategies. But I don't really suggest to the new players. But let's make you give an example. Maybe in customs and dorms, you might find yourself fighting with 3 or 4 teams at the same time. But also, it's an advantage against them. Sorry, you can push them, and they will not understand them because there are different teams in there at the same time, and they want to communicate with each other. All right. So let's say that there's a duo in one part of the dorms, like say the car side, the other part is on the ice cream shack side, and they're fighting with each other. And there's another dude on the first floor, and you're in the third floor. So you can basically do whatever if you want, because everybody or in that dorms area that has a teammate, they have to communicate with each other. They have to say it's me, like, or I'm going this way, or that way, or that. So when you create a different sound, they will confuse, and you have the advantage at that point because you will be as nimble as possible in there. They can't really track you. They want to track each other, to not shoot each other, because it's a very tight place. So that's the point of like people are playing very aggressive in the dorms areas. Like you can see a lot of streamers, they do that. They play very aggressively because it's an advantage against players. Also, given how the game works, kind of pushing is a bit advantage, but also kind of be the disadvantage as well. It's a double-edged sword in my opinion. But if you push people, you're more likely gonna kill people regardless, because you have an advantage given how the game was coded.
Yeah, I guess it really depends on the situation. If you're holding a right peak and someone pushes you in the hall,
you might still die. You might still die, even if you hold a right hand peak.
You might. It really depends on the situation and
Yes.
the place you're at. But oftentimes, if you're holding an angle and someone pushes you, you will generally have the advantage, unless you're in a. I find in my experience, if you're holding like you're in a small room or in a room, and then someone pushes you in there, your reaction time to them pushing you in there, that has killed me more than me killing them. But if I have a right peak on a hallway, for example, that's different. I guess it really depends on the on the layout of the place you're fighting.
Let me put it this way for most of the players that watches it. If, like, let's say there's no desync in the game and there's no ping, 0 ping, all right? No ping at all. The player who will push will kill the other dude who's inside holding a right hand or left hand, whatever, who's holding an angle. Kill him regardless. That's because our psychology kind of works differently in that. Like, if you react to something that is coming to you, you will have a different reaction speed and you will generally kind of miss it. It's more like this. A ball is thrown to you, right? If a ball is coming to your direction, you generally want to avoid it, right? Instinctively, you want to avoid it or you want to hold it, right? With your hand. But if you throw it to somewhere that you see, your reaction speed will be significantly faster because you expect something in that corner or something, like you are searching for it.
Yeah, you don't need a reaction time. You're the one.
You don't need a reaction time because you know. Yes, but the other guy who's holding an angle, he doesn't know when you're pushing. He does know to a point, like when you will push, like maybe you will push or maybe not, maybe you will fake, maybe you will not fake, but you know there's a guy inside and they can't get out. That's the thing. So, which is why we tell people to unpin yourself most of the time, even though it's more riskier sometimes. It looks very risky. It looks unoriginal. Like you think that, oh, it's stupid, right? Like it will be stupid to go outside. But if you do it, you generally actually survive because people think like, oh, he would not do it. But you do it, you get surprised because they don't expect it. They expect you to stay in that room and then try to get a peek on them.
I think the default reaction for most people is just to freeze, and I've been guilty of that quite a few times where I know there's a guy who's right around the corner or he's pushing whatever, and then I just kind of freeze and hold an angle instead of trying to eliminate the threat and push him, you know, like to have an opposing force to what's coming. So that has killed me quite a few times where I froze, probably out of fear or out of not knowing what to do exactly in that situation. So many times I just didn't know what to do.
I agree though that, you know, you kind of had that issue, which a lot of players still has it. Like, I don't know what to do in that position. In order to know it, you need to die, basically.
Or
Like you
you
need to
try
understand.
something. Right.
Yes, like the more you fuck around,
The more
the
you find
more you
out.
will find out. Yeah, basically, like the greatest players in this game, they died quite a lot in this game, and I can tell that the
Yeah.
older times of the game kind of more harsh on new players because there was no inertia, and experienced players was basically curb stomping people at the start of the wipe because there was no inertia, there was no nothing. The people who had the flea market access for like level 5, which is like 2 raids for them, basically it was annoyingly weird. Like people were using HKs back and forth after level 5, right? And labs was full every time. And for the new player, it was kind of hard. Currently, the game is more helping to the casual player base, and the latest changes are helping them. I'm happy for them. I don't really enjoy that easy thing, but also I do understand why they do it, so I kind of respect it, and most players will be happy about the latest changes. Hopefully, they will add more things to the Kappa, so Kappa will be a bit more harder.
As we're talking right now, I'm thinking that a lot of the problems that players have stem from fear. They're just afraid. I felt that many times also, where I got into a situation where someone is pushing or someone is there. I know they're there. There's a threat. I'm afraid. I don't know what to do. I kind of freeze. I die. And then I don't really try something. I don't gain experience in that situation, or I'm asking other people for feedback. What should I have done in that situation? But it's really easy to just be paralyzed by fear. And I think that's very common amongst most people that don't have a ton of experience, who didn't get desensitized over a certain period of time, you know, dying enough to become kind of numb to the fear, have the correct reflexes, etc., to deal with the situation, right? The fear in this game is pretty high. Compared to other games, I think I've never really experienced something like this in other games.
Because their stakes are much higher than other games.
Yeah.
You won't feel the same fear on Arma, which is like Arma is actually pretty good game on the arcade simulation type of stuff. Like, you know, it's more closer to simulation, but it's kind of, you know, very realistic. But there's no stakes in the game. That's the thing. There's no stakes. You die, you die. You just respawn. That's it. The end. You don't lose anything. You don't even lose. I mean, you might lose some progression, but just some of it, not all of it. In Tarkov, you lose all the progression. You going into a raid. You lost 40 minutes when you die. Like, I'm not saying you lost it, but you died. Maybe you got an experience or not. Doesn't matter. So
Yeah, you still get a little bit of experience, but you lose the gear, you lose the progress on your quests if you have quest items, etc.
Yep.
Yeah, the stakes
Yeah,
are much
people
higher.
got it. Yeah.